So I don't think it's a secret that I'm a huge nerd who loves Hunter x Hunter. But what if I told you that in the past, I too had never seen Hunter x Hunter?
No fucking shit!
Now I know that's obvious, but let me explain. Hunter x Hunter is amazing and you should watch it. Okay, we're done. Oh, you're not sold? Okay, let me try to convince you. Before I started watching Hunter x Hunter, I had heard nothing but hype about the show, that it was one of the greatest works of fiction, and easily if not the best anime in the entire universe. However, when I first started watching, I liked the characters and the world was unique, but nothing really impressed me. It seemed to be just another typical shonen anime with a happy-go-lucky protagonist. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I certainly didn't predict it would capture my heart the way Fullmetal Alchemist and JoJo's had. However, when I had finished the series, I sat back and realized I couldn't have been more wrong. Hunter x Hunter is nothing short of a masterpiece, with its amazingly written characters and complex questions of morality. It breaks the typical shonen formula and has one of the best battle systems used for dynamic fight scenes. This show is fantastic and it shattered all of my early expectations. After I finished watching, I started telling my friends who hadn't seen it that they should watch it, because to me it was nothing short of a masterpiece. But when they asked me why they should watch it, I hesitated. I wasn't sure what to say or even where to begin. Why couldn't I explain to someone who hadn't seen Hunter x Hunter why I thought it was one of the best shonen anime, hell, one of the greatest shows I've ever seen? Needing to find an answer to that question inspired me to make today's video. I think the main reason that Hunter x Hunter is so hard to explain is it has so much hidden depth. Below the surface are interwebs of deep characters, including the heroes, the antagonists, and even the normally forgettable side characters. The series starts out seemingly so simple and generic with its introduction of characters. Here's a strong, happy-go-lucky main character. Here's a guy who wants revenge for his dead clan. And there's an 11-year-old who's stronger than almost everybody. All of these things get established in the first couple of episodes. However, over time, Hunter x Hunter breaks that typical normal shonen formula. The fights change and get more intense. The world and those inhabiting it all slowly become darker and more morally gray. Hunter x Hunter grows and evolves with you. You could watch this as a kid and see an amazing high-action battle shonen with likable characters, then come back years later and marvel in all the hidden complexities. Hunter x Hunter has so many layers in its characters and themes. Characters are probably the most important thing to get right. First, I want to dive into how Hunter x Hunter subtly breaks the typical shonen anime formula by analyzing some of the characters. Let's take Karupika as an example. The first thing you learn about the young man is that he desires to get revenge for his dead clan, a typical trope used in anime and manga. Unlike most generic, edgy, revenge-based characters, Karupika has more lighthearted moments than dark ones. We're allowed to see the real him, the genuine moments of happiness with him and his friends having a good time. He's not some self-absorbed asshole who only focuses on getting revenge. He's deeper than the typical cliche, as are for so many other Hunter x Hunter characters. My favorite quote from Karupika is, perfect explanation of his characterization and sheds light into why he acts happy but chooses to force himself onto a darker path. The next great character in Hunter x Hunter, who again breaks the typical shonen tropes, is the exceptionally written Gon Freaks, the main protagonist himself. Gon starts out as a stereotype, a strong, happy, innocent young boy without a father who goes on an adventure and makes friends with almost anybody, though he never really changes from that characterization. The big fun comes when you take a deeper look into Gon's action and think about why he does what he does. See, Gon is a naive, selfish kid, and he's written in that way that he's not mature enough to know or question morals. I don't want to spoil anything, as one of the biggest pleasures of watching the show is seeing Gon's progression and moral development throughout the series. But one early example is that within the first couple of minutes we learn that Gon's dad left him as a kid to become a hunter. Most people would be outraged or saddened at their own father leaving, however Gon isn't. Instead, Gon becomes curious. He wants to know what's so great about being a hunter that can make a father willing to abandon his own son. It's the many deep, interesting characters like this that make Hunter x Hunter such a great show. I talked about two of the main characters, however almost all of the side characters are just as fascinating and complex as these two, if not more so. We've got Komugi, a side character that doesn't interact with our main characters more than once or twice, and who would leave you to believe that she wouldn't have such a pivotal and impactful role in the story. Hell, all she does the whole time is play a board game called Gungi. Yet she and many other seemingly insignificant characters have such a huge impact. Komugi, seemingly doing so little, manages to have a significant effect on the other characters. It makes the story feel alive. Komugi is weak and doesn't do much, but she deeply changes the main antagonist of the Chimera Ant arc. Komugi takes on the role of the flat character arc. She doesn't change for the better or worse, she is just there to change the main antagonist, Meruem. Meruem at that time believed in a lie, that being power is everything. In something simple like playing Gunki, a game very similar to chess, Meruem starts to change. At this time, Meruem is the most important character we've seen in the entire world of Hunter x Hunter. With Meruem slowly changing, it has a huge effect on the world and the other characters. If a side character in a story can have such an impactful role doing so little, it makes me excited to think about what else this author can create. It's small moments like this that leave me astounded whenever I watch Hunter x Hunter. So obviously I think characters are important for a show, but something just as important for shonen anime are definitely the fights. High dynamic action is half of the fun in watching shonen anime, and to some it's the only thing that really matters. Luckily for those people, Hunter is one of the best battle systems out there. Explaining Hunter's battle system called Nen would take up time to make a whole video by itself. So we're going to briefly touch on the basics of what makes Nen so great. Well, why is it so great you ask? Well, I'd say because of the amount of versatility and complexity. Nen has nearly infinite possibilities. Nen is one's energy or aura honed for special techniques and abilities. Every person in the world of Hunter has aura without realizing it, meaning anybody in the world could become a Nen user. There are even some people in the world who use Nen without realizing it, such as top athletes or people like Komugi, a master Gungi player. However, when mastered through intense training, Nen can be a tool and a dangerous weapon. Users of Nen use their aura in various ways, using a technique called Hatsu. There are plenty of different techniques using Nen, but Hatsu is definitely the most iconic. It's a Nen user's personal ability. These Hatsu techniques can range in nearly infinite possibilities, such as creating portals or shooting freaking aura dragons at people and riding on them. The coolest thing about these abilities is it requires a deep knowledge of what you're trying to create. Killua was able to create lightning after being tortured by it so much to the point that he's damn near immune to it and understands its properties. Another person named Melody, who's an expert in music, can hear others' heartbeats and determine if they're lying. However, Nen comes at a price. First, it's very rare for someone to even know of its existence. Nen is something kept secret from modern society, and only a select few ever learn of its existence, let alone tap into its potential. Even after years of finally learning how to contain the aura in your body, it takes just as long to learn the basic applications of Nen. But let's say you do all of that training. Even still, Nen isn't as simple as just creating random abilities. The stronger the power you make with Nen, the more limitations are required and vice versa. Karupika set up a limitation that he can only use one of his powers on the Phantom Troop. This ability then becomes super strong because it's a technique that can only work on 10 people in the entire world. I absolutely love Nen as a battle system. The creativity and different abilities shows more into the personality of users compared to quirks in My Hero Academia or Jutsu in Naruto. Nen is such a versatile battle system, yet so interesting due to its limitation aspect, leading to amazing and creative fights sprung from these different, wacky, and diverse abilities. I hope I finally found the words to explain the core reasons why I think Hunter x Hunter is such a masterpiece. There is so much more I wish I could talk about with this show, but to get into anything too deep would get into borderline spoiler territory. For me, Hunter x Hunter was a breath of fresh air. I've been watching anime ever since I was a little kid with me and my brothers when I would watch Dragon Ball Z. I've watched hundreds of shows since then, and yet Hunter x Hunter was able to stand out so much amongst the others. Hunter x Hunter broke the formulas and is much deeper than the surface. From its dramatic action scenes to the complex characters, its smooth transition between light and dark themes, the show never failed to break my expectations. In fact, every time I thought I knew it was gonna happen, or thought, meh, it's just okay, it would shock me and shatter those expectations. Hunter x Hunter is one of the most brilliant shows I've ever witnessed, with some of the best written characters in all of fiction. And that's why you should watch Hunter x Hunter.